Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, one half a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. Hell yeah. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, America. And today it's all about America. I was just reading an article about a battleship they were talking about building / aircraft carrier, and it's called a battle carrier. And, you start to think about, how much money are we spending? I think it takes like 2,000 people to operate one of these, we'll call it a ship, not a boat. Because, you look at, I bet you when they build these things, there's probably a huge crater of stuff that we had to ore just to build one of these things. You talk about leaving an impression. But anyway, we're talking about America, not, I guess North America to be specific, not Central or South America. We'll save that for another day. You have the United States, which I remember talking to somebody one time, and it was even more towards California, but still it's the same concept. And he was mad because the America that we know spends too much money on military, and why is that? And I said, well, it's in the Constitution to protect, from enemies, foreign and domestic. So we have to work from, these things that are mentioned, and then we'll hash the other stuff out later. But we have to keep the main things. Because he brought up, we should spend the money on schools and education and et cetera, et cetera. And, I just mentioned, I go, look, the thing about schools, it's not a money thing. You take private schools who spend a small amount per capita on what we're spending in public schools, and the results are a lot better. It's just because they have more freedom. They don't like somebody, they can just kick them out. So you have to achieve a certain level of compliance and everything else to stay in there, so you're trying. The parents are all in, and that's more effective than let's just spend a few more bucks on the teachers, because ultimately it's not that the teacher's getting paid more. She's going to try harder, and it's going to be another blockbuster movie, because that's few and far between. The thing of it is, you pay them more, and then guess what? The teachers union gets a hold of that money first, so by the time it trickles down to the teachers, it's just a pittance of what it started at originally. I mean, I've worked for some of these big school districts, and they have the big buildings, and everybody in every office has a job to do, and believe me, they're not going to say, everything's done here, I'm just going to go ahead and close up shop and retire now. No, they're going to make themselves stay busy. They're going to find, if it isn't reading, they did such a great job. If it isn't reading, writing, and arithmetic, then they start doing social programs and this and that. And I've seen these huge buildings, and they're just a couple students would come in with their parents. I'm thinking, hell, we could do this at a Denny's, right out of a conference room. We don't need a 6-story building that's as modern as hell. With they essentially could be the NSA building. I mean, it's just with security and this, that, and the other. But that's when people talk about funding, school needs funding. Yes, you're right but we're talking about two different things. If we're talking about, supplies in the classroom, and maybe, sure, I'm not opposed to the teacher getting more money, just tax her less and then she'll get more money. But so when I say no, the school does not need more money, I'm thinking about the giant building in LA, and you're thinking about the classrooms that are anemic. And I think that's where a lot of our problems originate, is we need to explain why we believe what we believe. What and why. And the what is, I believe that, too much money is going to school. But why is because of the very reason I just said. It's not that, your version of it is, the poor teachers, poor classrooms. And my my version of it is the poor attorneys at all the school boards and everything that aren't going to get as much money now. And that's just the way it is. If you disagree, I'm sorry, it's the way it is from my experience and the information I have. But go down to your school boards. I mean, there's even every city has them too. It's not just LA; it's all the suburbs of LA, and they just have a big giant school board that I don't know what they do every day. It doesn't mean they don't do anything, but I also have been privileged enough to go to private schools too and see what they have to offer. And I also have seen the results of what they spit out. And again, I know that the parents have their stuff together at these private schools, so it creates a different result. Well, then don't ignore that fact. If that is the biggest difference in all this, is not the schools, it's the parents and the family, well, can we take the light that always shined on money, and maybe shine it over to, hey, if you're not raising your kids in a good family type setting, you're not going to get a good result. Don't just keep on sticking it to me, the tax guy, to solve your problems by me breaking my back. So anyway, so you have, the Constitution says, hey, America's allowed to have, a big military. So never be apologetic for that. I think one thing we always talk about is, the military is, now it's Al Qaeda, and it's these kids that they're homegrown. They see an ISIS video and then they want to go save the world. It's just not our world. They want to save their version of it, become jihadists and blah blah blah. And okay, so yeah, we have that threat, but it doesn't mean that a police cannot protect himself from a person that's going to have a gun, but also they could protect themselves from a person that has a knife or a person that has a baseball. But so you may have a shotgun, you may have your sniper rifle, you have your Kevlar vest, and you have all these different things to protect yourself from different threats. And one of the things is, I think when you have a big military, well, before that is talking about this country. I don't want to get too into just the military, but we do it's called an ATF run, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and we drive from the desert of, I guess, California and Nevada border, and we drive down to basically Barstow, California, and we just go through the desert, and we're in the middle of nowhere, and I'm thinking any other country you would be worried about the warlords and all these things that could happen because you're out in the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of nice that with all the things we worry about, breaking down, being bitten by snakes, being eaten alive by scorpions, having one too many beers and falling over the cliff, and there's all these real world problems to worry about. But it's so nice to not have to worry about all the things that other people worry about in other countries first. And just being, if you're a women in the middle of nowhere, you worry about being raped because there's no law enforcement to follow up on such things. If you have something of value, you're worried about being robbed. And I'm not saying, that never happens, but statistically, we are set up to detour that. It's because of the big government. and it is nice when you're driving around. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because you can't burn the side of a hill down and do certain things because it's protected land or what have you. But at the same time, at least we're there, because if it was in another country that the government is in chaos or something, you just wouldn't do it. So the fact that we can do it and we're complaining about, oh, it's not free enough, is a good thing, because we're out. Guess what? We're out there doing it. Sure, I think there can always be adjustments, but the main thing is we're allowed to do it and we want to do it. We're not worried about the third world problems so much. So anyway, yeah, you see all these. You're on the trail and a lot of plaques, and we're talking about the middle of nowhere. And I mean, you do a 360 degree, and it's like you're on Mars. And then you see like a plaque, these guys that built these things in the early 1900s, and these small windows of time with no supplies or anything. I'm thinking, and then now there's a plaque with a picture of the guy who's probably 20 and looked like he was about 95, just because they had a hard life. And I'm thinking, what a great place. You could not do that anywhere else. And so you have all these little monuments everywhere, and that's why I like the band U2. And there's a song in Red Hill Mining Town, and it's my favorite band. I don't even know the name of the song. It's One Tree. Oh Lord, I'm getting them all confused. They talk about it, or they show in the video, just about like American miners. I think Bono from U2, he loved America. He came here and he made a couple albums of Joshua Tree and then Rattle and Hum, kind of like a part 2. And it's just kind of Americana. It talks about God's country and everything else, and you look at people from the other side of this planet can appreciate what's going on over here. Even in the desert, it's a unique thing that they know exists nowhere else. They come here, and sometimes it's so under our nose that we don't even see it. And so I think it's a good reminder for everybody is appreciate how good it, and if you got to go to another country to see how bad it is, it's like I always tell my kids I want to take them to a cancer ward or something, and just to see these people that are just so happy to be alive, just to give them more gratitude. And it's not their fault. I mean, we would all be that way if we just saw certain things. You get used to it. So we all need to see things, and people that are less privileged to appreciate what we have. And I think as an adult, I remember being poor and struggling, and then the inconveniences of, let's face it, 30-something years ago. We don't have what we have now. And, I can remember that, and I think that helps me be happy. Plus, we travel, and I go through, these bad cities, and, if I drive to certain parts of LA, you go through parts of what seems like it would be Beirut. I mean, just looks like a war zone. And then when you get to the nice area, it's such a contrast that you cannot help but appreciate it. So the thing that kind of reels it all in is, why do we have this and nobody else? And I think from our forefathers, it's, hey, we have this thing, and it's one thing to have it, but it's another thing to protect it. And we do have to throw a lot of energy, a lot of resources in protecting it. And it's one thing about this country, man. You have, like, even World War II. I mean, even like Germany, all the stuff that they came out, and with what we came out, talking about the atom bomb, and we went from airplanes to the jet age, and the war was, what was it, less than 10 years? I mean, the stuff that was invented in that time, and you're talking about building airfields for these different planes and different things, and then taking the airfields down. And I'm thinking, I've been trying to clean out my storage for the last 10 years, and the stuff that we do is just incredible. And Yeah, I'm sure why